Hey folks, if you dig the Enormocast, if you like what you hear, if the Enormocast inspires you, makes you cry, makes you laugh, makes you want to punch someone in the eye, then do me a favor. Head over to enormocast.com and click on the Help Out tab and see what you can do to push the Enormocast to such great heights that it will tower over all other podcasts like three El Caps stacked on top of one another. Once again, take a moment and head over to enormocast.com, click on the Help Out tab, and follow the instructions. It's the least you can do, man. Come on.
We gotta get
Listen, where are you playing in town? You playing here?
We're doing the Enormo Dome, whatever it is. It's terrific.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a
the big
house. We
place,
sold
that
it out.
side of town. That's a
Very
big
nice.
place. You sold
What's
it
that,
out.
20,000
I'll see.
seats? We really should.
Look, you better get up there before you panic. Those pens are loose. You're very good. I have really enjoyed playing with you. We'll make it. I don't think so. But we shall continue with style. Good weather, bad weather. Now or later, anytime.
Today's show is brought to you by Black Diamond Equipment, with support from Maxim Ropes.
And don't forget our friends at Defiant Bean Roasters. Go to bonfirecoffee.com and enter Enorma at checkout for a discount on great coffee. Or click on the Defiant Bean banner at enormocast.com for more information.
And now back to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Enormocast. This is your host, Chris Kalous. It is March 31st, about 9:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and this is episode 54 of the Enormocast. And once again, at the Enormocast, it is Ladies' Night. On today's show, we have three different climbing ladies, and they're here to help me decide what it takes to be the perfect man and to run down yet another set of ins and outs with climbing relationships. A lot of fun, these types of shows. A little bit of a return to form after having done a few interviews over the last few months. This is more of a throwdown, a gallon of Cabernet, three ladies, and yours truly in the Furet in Moab. So stick around and check it out, a little bit of mayhem on this particular show. But before we get to that, just got back from the Red Rock Rendezvous, picked up some stuff there we'll be hearing soon, I hope. Great event. Actually, just yet another one of these great climbing events, great tribal climbing get-togethers out there in the desert. Had a really good time working my way out there over the week and then hanging out for the rendezvous and doing a few pitches in Red Rocks. So I want to thank Phil Bridgers and Mountain Gear. They put it on, and Phil was the guy that got in touch with me about doing some stuff out there. So appreciate that. And if you missed it this year, put it on your calendar for next year because it is one of the cooler climbing events out there. Coming up for the Enormocast here in Carbondale, the 5 Point Film Festival, which has started to become a bit of a tradition with the Enormocast. I've gotten interviews at the last couple years, emceed at a couple, and actually the 5 Point were the people who hooked me up with the Honnold for the big Honnold episode last year when Mr. Honnold sat down with me. So always a good time right here in my hometown, a great time of year in the spring. That's going to be coming up on April 24th to the 27th. You can check out the all the goings-on at 5pointfilm.org, and that's the number 5pointfilm.org. Also, I'm going to be doing a live Enormocast at that in the morning at Bonfire Coffee, which are now the folks who sell Defiant Bean. And I'll be doing that in the coffee shop right down there in downtown Carbondale about 10 a.m. on Friday morning. I don't know what my guest list is going to look like, but there's a bunch of different people to come into town, so I'm sure I'll find somebody interesting. And besides, Kelly Cordes is going to be in town. And when Kelly Cordes is in town, he's always welcome on the Enormocast. Also, incidentally, I'm going to be MC on Friday night at the film festival, so come and check all that stuff out. Like I said, it's a real great event here in Carbondale, and it sure is nice to be dealing with something that's just a few blocks from my house instead of 9 hours like out there in Vegas. Well, what else is going on with the Enormocast? It was a little bit of a rough month. I was late with the last episode, then had a couple cancellations, had some technical difficulties with another interview, and anyway, so that puts us at the end of the month. I did manage to stuff 2 into March, so I want to point out although it's 9:30 right now, so I got 2 hours to get this thing up. But I know that's kind of cheating. Anyway, what you guys don't know is that when I hit the 50 mark, I decided to give myself a little bit of a break and shoot for putting out 20 episodes this year, although I think I'll probably be able to do more than that. But rolling it back just a teeny bit from the 24, I felt like I deserved that. Anyway, still plenty of content. I'll probably actually put out a little bonus episode next month that's a little different from what I'm doing normally, just to kind of fill in some of the gaps. I got a couple of things that don't really fit into the normal setup. So I probably won't call them full episodes, but it'll be something to put on your iPod and listen to on the way to work or however you do listen to this. And before we get to the interview today, I also want to start giving you guys a heads up about the International Climbers Festival in Lander. That's actually my favorite that I've been to so far because I have a bunch of friends up there. But nevertheless, I'll be up there as well again this year. And going to be doing an event up there, plus trying to get some interviews. They've got a huge list of impressive people coming to the Climbers Fest this year, including Mr. John Long and a certain young female climber named Sasha DeJulian. I did learn how to pronounce her name since episode 8. Anyway, I haven't set anything up with them yet, but they're in my sights. No guarantees, but they're in my sights. Anyway, that's coming up in July 9th to the 14th. I'll be talking about this again, but in the meantime, just Google it. International Climbers Festival Lander. You've got 2 hands. I think you can muster it. All right, let's get on to a rather frisky interview with 3 lady climbers in a vintage travel trailer in Moab. Classic Enormocast stuff. Yep, once again, it's ladies' night, but on the Enormocast, ladies always drink for free.
You wanted this, you know?
I know.
Happy birthday.
Is that...
Ladies?
You guys are being... This is being recorded.
This is how you should address a microphone. Around. Treat it like, let's just say, an ice cream cone. You want it close enough that you can lick it, but not so close that it's smashed in your face.
Thanks, Lisa.
I was
hoping you were going to use some other analogy,
well,
but whatever.
I'm trying to keep it clean this time because I got criticized.
So we can't... Oh.
No. She made a quite a lewd comment that got some feedback.
Lisa
What'd you say you don't want your daughter?
Let's just not bring it up.
Okay.
I think
you can swear all you want. This is the internet. Yes.
Starting. Okay.
We won't necessarily use any of that, but we are live. We're getting. I think our levels are good, so we should go ahead. So I'll just introduce. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves, but I'm sitting in the Furet. Is that right, Lisa?
It's correct.
I'm back in Moab, and I'm back at Lisa Hathaway's dirt lot, sitting inside the Furet, which I don't think we've recorded in here because I think we recorded in the Oasis.
We recorded in the Oasis, first Enormocast recording studio.
Yeah, and we recorded the first and second Enormocast just about 25 feet from here in the Oasis. But now we're in the Furet, which is I don't know, what kind of vintage are we sitting in terms of this travel trailer?
It's called a vintage travel trailer.
Yeah, it's a pretty vintage travel trailer.
There's really sweet curtains.
And it's also ladies' night again at the Enormocast, other than your host, myself, Chris Kalous.
And the feeling's right. Oh, yes, it's
since I think the last ladies' night I had was way back in episode 15. Was the last time it was an all-female cast, other than the one-on-one interviews that I do. So, welcome, ladies.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
Sitting with us is Lauren Calloway from Boulder, Colorado.
Hi. Good morning. As Chris said, I'm from Boulder, Colorado. Very happy to be here to talk about men and dating and rock climbing. My 3 favorite things in the world.
Okay, great.
And Moab.
You're taking this seriously. I love it. Lisa Hathaway, our host, my host, everyone's host here tonight, actually.
I'm sleeping in her driveway.
Nice.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, who hasn't slept in her driveway?
And unlike what Lauren had to say, I feel like, what's there to talk about? Flowers are pretty, climbing is fun, and boys aren't bad either.
Right on. Yeah, we could do a whole show on not only who slept in your parking lot, but who slept with who in your parking lot.
Oh, yes, there's been babies made in this parking lot, and
Honestly?
that is a fact. Yes.
A fact.
Yes, conception has occurred in my pop-up camper.
Will you name the babies?
I will not.
Okay.
Sounds made up.
Are we going to say your last name, Adeline? Or
You
you?
can say my last name if you want. Or actually, I should just not. Yeah.
Go ahead and introduce
I'm
yourself.
Adeline Guay. It's gay, but it makes Chris uncomfortable. I don't know why I was picked for this podcast, really. Anyways.
It's because you're a climber and you have a charming accent.
I do? Oh.
Yes.
You're one of the good ones.
And you're from Canada.
I'm from Canada, otherwise known as Montreal.
Yep, Montreal, the French part of Canada.
Yeah, it's like east.
But you also have spent a ton of time in Moab.
Okay.
All right, so what we're here to talk about, as Lauren previewed, is a subject that I think I've touched on before in episode 15. Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon was the name of that episode, with young Grayson and all her boy problems, which got a lot of feedback, actually got a lot of emails from guys and girls, many of them corroborating her stories, such as the lean in, which
The lean in.
Lisa Hathaway will have something to say about in a little bit. The still tied in lean in for a smooch and maybe more. But what I wanted to talk about tonight was some of the myths I think that guys have about the way girls sort of see them in climbing. And from there we can go out there. But before we do that, Lauren, dating a climber.
Yes.
Dating a climber right now. Lisa not dating a climber.
That's correct, Chris.
But has in the past.
Has in the past.
In fact, was married to one.
One could say has in the past.
Quite a few times.
Adeline, with a climber, not?
No.
In the past.
I have.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm currently dating a climber, so that's kind of how you've all been invited to sit in the room. So,
Clink, clink.
Can we do
wine,
shots?
beers. Okay, so let me ask you this. I'm going to kind of put out some things. Does it make a guy more appealing to you or less appealing? Do these things matter or not don't matter at all? All right, that's kind of my list. That's where we're
Do we
going.
have a
have
bell
on
to
that?
ding that, like, who gets to answer first?
Can we raise?
Yeah, try not to. Okay, so here's my first one. Now, in a lot of places, guys go out and they buy super nice cars because they think like having a sweet ass Beamer is gonna impress the ladies, or in some circles a red hot Camaro. If a guy has a sweet travel rig, does that make him more appealing as a possible mate, or doesn't matter? Like he's got a Sprinter that's just so decked out and ready for the road. You can stand up in it. It's got a heater. Cook inside, the whole thing.
You guys can disagree. It's fine. You don't have to like check with each other if it's all right.
Yeah, I actually ask, do you have a van? And then if they do, I'm lost interest.
You're not interested.
Not
Not
interested.
interested.
Are you scared of, like, the kidnapper kind of thing or something?
Yeah, the Buffalo Bill white van thing, that's scary. Really.
It also kind of depends on how it smells.
Oh, yeah. It totally, whatever the vehicle is, it cannot smell like burnt bacon
Okay.
and be covered in
And
grease.
socks. Socks
And
are bad,
socks.
too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Keep
climbing
those
shoes.
climbing shoes outside of the van, I think, is important.
All right. So it's a sweet smelling van is a possible attraction device, but we got 1 out of 3.
It would
And you're
depend.
actually
Yeah, I like the small car. I don't
Okay.
like the van thing.
All right.
I think that, yeah.
I think it would depend on how many days I was on the road and if it was raining.
okay.
I like the camper thing. Yeah.
If it was raining, I'd want something to pop up that you could get into.
Yeah.
I think there's also the issue that if they have a really nice van and it steers them away from any other sort of home, maybe that's a bit of a red flag.
Okay. I was going to get to that because the dirtbag thing, I wanted to get to that. Whether that.
Right, you have to describe
Yeah.
a bit more
Okay,
what you're
so-
thinking.
You know, I'm just going down there because, again, like, I think a lot of guys build out their vans, you know, and actually I know for a fact that several of our friends have built out their vans. They're single now, but they want to make sure that there's room for 2. Okay, big one. This is like, yeah, shirts off.
Can I just talk about in the creek yesterday, a young man took his shirt off for a lieback climb, and it was actually quite cold out, and proceeded to like scrape up the entire side of his body with his shirt off in the shade. And I thought that was kind of silly, because my implication would be like, oh, it's kind of cold, I want to put my shirt on so I don't scrape the shit out of myself. So yeah, that's an example of poor shirt off form, men.
If you're pulling your shirt off because you think you're going to look hot, you're not. That's just simply what it is. So if you're pulling your shirt off because it's 80 degrees out and you're in the sun, all right, that's one thing. But if you're like, hey, ladies, and you're like whipping it off, not hot.
Yeah, there's something true about that. There's like an attitude with the taking of the shirt off.
Okay.
You know? Like,
So-
it's kind of unspoken, but you know.
Right.
You feel it.
Okay, but what if this guy's? I mean, what if he's an Adonis?
Nah.
If he's roostering,
Yeah.
then it's not good.
Okay.
If he's Steve Maish and he's climbing on the hell belly and his shirt comes magically unbuttoned and you get to see his legendary abs, that's hot.
Who is
I
that?
feel like, but honestly,
Do the research.
On the Adonis note, there's so many people in climbing that look like Adonis, both men and women, that
It's kind of yawner after a while.
yeah, it's kind of yawner. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
really
like-
that big of a deal.
Like anyone can bring abs to the table, but who's going to bring a 401k?
I don't know what a 401k is. I don't know what
You
it
guys
is.
don't need those in Canada.
Oh.
Because the government just pays for all your shit
it's
after
money.
you retire.
I knew Lisa was talking about money. Yeah, I don't like the shirt off thing.
Really? Not.
Sometimes, I mean, it's a big old fat. It depends.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
totally situational.
And then-
It's like if it's
yeah.
organic and visceral, then that's just totally cool.
If you're at Gold Bar, it's okay.
But if you're trying to like film your own personal like segment in some like Cinemax after midnight movie, no, not cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
please
So,
don't do it at the gym.
okay. Gyms or shirts off in the gym? That's a no-no?
No.
No.
Don't a lot of gyms...
My boyfriend does it all the time.
Well, tell him to stop that.
Hey, baby.
We can't take off our shirt.
You know who
that's
you
just not
are,
fair.
Lauren's boyfriend. Stop taking your clothing off in the gym.
No, she likes it, though, I think. Well, that's a good to know, because I think a lot of guys,
Think it's hot?
They think it's hot. And but what I'm taking from this is that as long as you're not doing it superfluously,
Yeah.
then you're fine.
Right. If you're
Okay,
doing it
so-
to send, that's hot.
And if it what was the other thing? If it accidentally comes open while you're...
Well, if you're whom I previously mentioned, if you're Steve Maish and your button-up shirt accidentally comes unbuttoned while you're on the hell belly, that's hot.
Okay. All
It's
right,
like
all right.
the subtle reveal as opposed to like bringing it all out. You know, like how we used to talk about sparkle motion,
Mm-hmm.
like you don't want to play the drums and get it all out on the first. It's like,
Right.
you know, you got to like work it in slowly.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. I mean, I would, as a guy watching other guys sort of climb without their shirts on when it's freezing ass cold, or like you said in Indian Creek and wrecking themselves. I guess I kind of get it, but
Just like go being one side is
Your
not,
shoulder
it's
on a
not
layback.
especially sexy.
all right, boys, this is what I'm trying to get us to is this is instructional for the male listeners out there.
Well, or
We're
girl
gonna-
listeners too.
Yeah, we're gonna create the perfect male climber by
are.
listening to this podcast. That's correct. So.
The Stepford man.
No extra shirt off time. Keep the shirt on. Let the muscles ripple through the shirt.
We want to be surprised later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reveal. Think
Yeah.
about the reveal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Oscar night. They don't announce the best actor in the
Until
first
the
5
end.
minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
They make you wait. You got to salivate a little. You got to get some drool going.
All right.
You gotta wonder things.
You got to
Yeah.
wonder things.
Love.
What you said about the Adonises being a dime a dozen, I think that was you, Lisa.
No, I said it.
Or you said it, Lauren. Sorry, don't
I
want
want
to
to
steal
hang
your
out
thunder.
with you guys.
But the truth is that all these issues are like issues within all segments of male, female population. But the climbing thing is different because we are, frankly, looking around this room, a good-looking bunch of people. Just saying this, like climbers are at least fit for the most part, and the whole fitness thing is a big part of attraction. So it's like we kind of got that out of the way, and we're working with a group of people, also doing physical activity. Like you get to watch each other, you know, do these physical activities and get a feel for sort of what they look like. maybe having ripped guys with their shirts off, like Jan. You're at what is the place in Boulder, the bouldering gym? The spot. I mean, everybody looks pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, this is a big one. All right. Does climbing well make a difference? Those of us groveling below the highest grades, are we at a disadvantage? Also, an addendum, does the guy that you date or are interested in dating have to climb better than you? Or worse, or does it matter?
I'm going to answer part one of your 3-part question there.
Okay, so is being a good climber helpful?
Maybe it is, but I think it's more your attitude about it. I mean, if you're a good climber and if you're kind of a dickhead about the whole thing and sort of arrogant about it, it's not so attractive. But if you're a good climber and humble, or if you're a bad climber and don't get caught up in that, then that's kind of important, I think. So I guess the point is that it doesn't really matter. It's just your attitude surrounding your climbing ability that does.
I concur. It's more about the attitude than the ability. Although I think it's nice to have people with at least close, if you're going to date a climber, it's nice if your ability levels are close, but that's not necessarily going to be an attractant or repellent feature. You don't believe us.
I don't.
You don't. You're totally like, you're giving me the look of like, the Kalous look of, I don't believe a word these girls are saying.
He's like, oh, Lauren, you're such a pro.
Because he's like,
so
he's like, she's dating a 514 climber. She was married to a 514 climber, and they both learned how to climb with 514 climbers. So I don't believe a word of it.
Maybe he'll believe me.
No, I actually.
Yeah, let's
can I just want to say that the first guy that I ever dated was a worse climber than me. And I broke up with him for my current boyfriend, but he was also a dickhead about his climbing ability.
Okay.
So,
See, I like a smart climber, so it doesn't really matter if they can have really good talent or abilities, but if they know what they're doing. So the safety for me is a bit more attractive because they can climb really hard, but how's that going to help me?
Right.
I'm just going to be belaying, and you can get really inspired in seeing people that can climb really well, and it's nice, but you can have a lot of fun also at the same level.
So if you saw a really hot guy with his shirt off who could climb 514
And had a sprinter van.
Yeah, I wouldn't care, but if he picked up the poop at the bottom of the boulder I'm trying to climb, I'd be psyched.
Ah.
You know, because he knows you don't want to land on that because he's a smart climber.
Ah.
See what I'm saying?
The
Nice
poop
guy.
at the bottom. You mean
Yeah.
people poop at the bottom?
Sometimes
of
dogs poop.
I had a really tragic accident this past fall in Spain with some poop at the bottom of the climb that my boyfriend did not clean up.
Oh, what?
It was not his, but
Oh, he didn't clean it up.
no,
for you.
he didn't. I'm not sure if he knew it was there or not.
Oh,
but
well, he's
I still fell in
So
it.
you think a fully pre-equalized anchor with like the gates facing up and away, with the noses up and away on the anchor is sexier than abs?
No, what would be sexier is asking, do you care if I put 2 draws up there, or do you want an equalized anchor?
Ah.
Because there is a knowledge of what's absolutely necessary, but also understanding of some people's comfort level. So, yeah.
Comfort.
See, I believe her. I don't believe you guys.
Although
that's
Lisa
okay.
does that for me all the time, so she probably...
There you go. You're a non-lesbian life partner.
We
Lisa
are.
Hathaway.
We are!
You guys have no idea how many girls consider Lisa their lesbian life partner, though.
Non-lesbian life partner.
Non-lesbian life. Oh,
It's a fine line. It's a fine line.
We don't have to sound homophobic. It's just a designation. Yes.
Exactly. All right, so have you guys dated... Well, Lauren said she did. Have you dated guys who were climbers, mind you, but were significantly worse than you are? Like you were dragging them up stuff like they were whining.
No.
No?
No.
Yes.
Yes. How'd that go? Was that all right?
Was
it a factor or no?
It was just hard to get out of the house. Go
Okay.
climbing.
Right.
But then in the end, it was okay.
So I think that's one of them that most guys in their heart of hearts believes to be true. That if they climb better, then they become more attractive.
Well, okay.
I really honestly believe
I think we
that
need to
is like-
distill this down a little bit
Okay,
more
all right.
because I think that the guys that you're think this way are guys like, yeah, well, I just sent 12C, so I'm going to get laid for sure. And that, like, a guy who's climbing 513, 514 isn't thinking about, like, am I going to be hot to the ladies? They're going to be like, where's my next belay coming from? But the guy who's, like, climbing 511D, you know, like, at Indian Creek is going to be like, yeah, I'm going to get some tonight for sure when I go back to the campfire and tell these ladies about my rad send of the Sicilian.
I don't think what I'm getting at here is it's not quite the Sicilian. That's a hard route.
I know, especially for guys.
It is.
That's why I use that one.
Anyway, that's a hard 511.
I know.
You're better off trying to do something else. Anyway, my point is not that guys
boys
think,
battle the bulge. You got it.
I don't think that guys are. I'm not saying that we're all this overt. Like, if I climb this
No, I
grade,
know that.
I'm going to get laid. Like, it's going to be that direct. Maybe it's just like we get to be the alpha dog or something when we're climbing better.
But that's
Yeah,
what I mean.
can
It's
I-
like
can I-
more like the
okay.
512 guys, not like the 514 guys.
Can I talk
Okay.
about what happened? So yesterday, I've been climbing a couple days with two of my good friends, and they are a couple, and we worked a route yesterday, and the one person that sent it was the female part of the couple, and I mean, I thought it was really badass. The dude that we were climbing with also thought it was really badass, and it would have been really, really lame if he had undermined that in any way by showing any form of insecurity about it. And so I thought that the fact that he was just kind of plain psyched for her being stronger than him was really, really, really cool. And I think,
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I think that's so much more of a manly quality to just be able to accept that and give support. Yeah, it's attractive to see a dude climb hard sometimes if he's cool about it, but
Yeah, because
it's
ultimately,
still, I mean, but it's also really frustrating when whatever, for some reason, some dude comes up to you at the gym and just expects to be better than you. And I think that's actually one of the most frustrating things as a female climber. When a dude
This is
will,
sort of little lady syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, here, let me give you some bait on that
oh
thing.
God. Yeah, that's not going to get you
I got
any.
that today.
That's not going to get you any ever. Did you?
Yeah,
Did they
from
have that?
Honnold.
Oh.
Remember? Why don't you just grab it like this?
Oh.
And then he put my shoes on and was like, oh, that's why you didn't grab it like
This
that.
is Honnold in bike shorts, by the way.
I got a picture. But anyway, back to the point at hand. I don't think there is any either arithmetic or geometric or whatever you call it
Linear.
relationship between your climbing ability and your attractiveness.
Okay, but
There's no direct correlation.
being, fleshing out a little bit more, wouldn't you say?
We already told you not to flesh out.
Okay, fleshing out in the fear
Just
rate.
be superficial. It's so much sexier.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying superficial, but wouldn't you say that whether it was climbing or anything else, that being accomplished at something makes you more attractive no matter what? I mean, whether it's, repairing
As long as you're not
cars or building.
like Lauren said, as long as you're not a dick. Yeah. Skill is always admirable and sexy, no matter what it is. Wouldn't you say? Like cooking, if they're a good cook.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's the insecurity that's a turnoff. So
Okay.
if you're secure in yourself and you're good at it and you're passionate about it, then yeah, it's a turn on. But if you're actually making it sound like you need to be good at climbing in order to be a respectable person or whatever, then that's not really, it doesn't matter in the end.
It's all about the tude.
The dude.
Okay.
What?
The dude.
The duditude.
Okay, so boastful is out, obviously, right? Anybody down there spraying at the cliff and talking about grades? I mean, am I right in that is, I don't know where guys even think that is, but that's unattractive, correct?
It's okay to be reasonable. You just don't have to be excessive.
Just
Okay.
talk to your friend and ask for buddy spray. That's always just more socially acceptable.
What's that?
Buddy
The buddy
spray's way
spray.
hotter. You
What's
should meet
buddy
my
spray?
friend over here. He just fired that
Yeah,
root
because
first
that's
try.
what you were talking about, right? He buddy sprayed
the
his
wingman.
girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, she did so good today. So, yeah. Whoa. I'm like, what's going on?
Talk about the wingman.
The wingman and the
We'll
buddy
get to
spray.
that.
Yeah, the
All
buddy
right, hold
spray.
on a second on the wingman. So what I'm getting at here, though, what do you think is better? Like, What? I'm just
There's
trying
not going to be a flow chart that guys can follow and like,
Yes,
okay,
there is.
if you are hot, then go to the left side. If you're not hot, go to the right. Because if you're not hot, you have to climb 512D. But if you are hot, you could get away with 12A.
Okay, let's hear him out because I'd like to hear. I just want to hear the question.
All right, so what's a better play? Okay, what's a better play is what I'm getting at. Like, humble and quiet or soulful and quiet?
Open and honest.
I don't think humble and soulful are antonyms. So
Really?
that's that's
They kinda
what's
go together?
soulful?
I don't think humble. I don't think that's a bad comparison.
All right.
I think you
What's
should
soulful? What do
rewrite
you
the
mean by
question.
soulful?
I mean, like, there's the guy who climbs really hard but doesn't talk about it. And then there's the guy that's like, he climbs well, but he's super happy, like, doing sort of like the going out and climbing the well within his grade and just being like super stoked on what he's doing. I'm just trying to, which play works?
Both.
So I think if you're humble, doesn't mean that you're not stoked on what you're doing, though.
Yeah, I'd say both. I think they're
they're
nice.
both pretty hot.
I think in the climbing and any other potential subsequent activities, actions speak louder than words.
All right, what about the lone wolf? Thinking of all the different sort of attitudes
we
they
were
can
talking
cop.
about that today, actually, because we were advising one of our friends who we all know who might have a van decked out.
Chili peppers.
We're like, no, what you got to do is you can't show up at the crag as like the lone wolf because then everyone's instantly suspicious.
Okay.
What you got to do is you got to show up with another girl, but one who is like widely known as not dating you. Because then that automatically gives you a certain amount of cred and safety
a
and
female wingman
possibly.
is
Yeah,
like-
this is like the female wingman thing.
Yeah.
That's money in
Wait,
the bank. Everyone knows
can
that.
I turn the interview around a little bit though? But
Sure.
I kind of feel like it's a bit opposite with females though. Like if you're a woman and you show up as a lone wolf, it's kind of sexy, maybe? No?
Let me say this. Yeah. Except for here's the problem. The thing about like turning this interview around is if I did this with guys, like, I mean, you guys have sort of equivocated a bit and been like, yeah, it's neither good nor bad. It's this and that. Guys would be even worse. Like they're like, well, I don't care what she drives. No, I don't care what she does. I don't care how she climbs. I don't, like they'd go right to like, I don't care. I don't care. Is she hot? Does she like me? Will she talk to me? Will she climb with me? Then I'm good. I'm going to go for it. But let me say this. Girls, the thing about climbing girls is that, and the guys that always complain about it, coming back to the lone wolf, the lone she-wolf, is that you very rarely see, or not rarely, but it's more common to see a girl climbing with a guy who's climbing with a guy who's her significant other than it is to see a girl climbing, either showing up at a site alone or even necessarily on a road trip or something with another girl. Like two dudes broing out on a road trip is like down in Indian Creek where you just were is like every campsite. Girls on a road trip, just them without the dudes in sight. It's kind of a rare thing. So is it more attractive only because you're just like, oh, maybe I have a chance? There's no guys like setting up a perimeter around the campsite when you walk by, like, hey, how's it going?
Is it maybe I have a chance, or oh, that's really cool, she's being independent, and
It's maybe I have a chance.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
I would say this. Let me say this because we're not quite as shallow as I'm going to joke about, but it may start at, wow, I should go talk to her because is he in the tent? Is he at the bathroom right now? Because you'd be waiting for some dude to come walking out of somewhere. Now, if you were sure that she was by herself, then yeah, you'd be like, wow, maybe I should go talk to this girl or something like that. But if you walk by a campsite and there's a guy there, it's not like you can go up to the girl and go, hey, let's go climbing today. Or, hey, do you need a partner? You know what I mean? Like, you would never do that because you're walking into the turf. So, I mean, it would facilitate maybe something like that, but in the long run, I would think it would be really cool, though. I mean, I would agree with that. You'd be like, oh, she's out here doing her own thing. Like, that's cool. But anyway, anything to say about that?
Oh, I think there's more of that now than, you and I come from a different origin in climbing in a lot of
Sure.
ways. And, those days I think are a little bit past. I think it is more common now to see just a couple of girls out on a road trip or girl by herself looking for people to climb with and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Did you end up going to Potrero this winter?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, you were taken with that Hayden person.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a girl.
I'm quite fancy.
I thought it was a girl.
Really?
I'm like, oh, cool, right on.
No.
But
I do have
seriously,
quite a fancy for Hayden,
to all the ladies out there, Hayden is such a man.
No, but I thought
such a man.
I didn't know who he
This
was.
is like a Hayden Kennedy dating podcast. Like,
He's going to hate us.
no, he won't.
Oh, I don't know.
like
I'm going to give his email at the end.
Adeline's like, who's this guy?
Anyways, I really
Well, I was
thought you were
curious.
going with the girl, but yeah.
No.
So I was like, Chris, how dare you? Anyways.
I was asking you because you had mentioned maybe just going down there by yourself.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if you had.
I came here by myself in Moab.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually, the first time I came here, I went to Biggin and just asked, hey, you guys want to climb? And went climbing with, actually Janine told me about James and Casey. Went climbing with people I didn't know, but yeah, I was a lone wolf.
Right.
Lone she-wolf. Aroo. Anyways.
Well, I mean, I've made that joke
yeah.
a bunch of times when female friends, girl space friends have, said, oh, you think I'll be able to find partners? I'm just like, yeah, you're going to be able to find partners. Don't worry about it, because there's going to be a bunch of guys that'll be like, yeah, of course I'll go climbing.
Yeah,
with
but
you.
is it a good partner?
Yeah.
Right. All right.
Can I turn that advice around though? It's
Okay.
like are you going to be able to find partners? And yeah, you're going to be able to find partners, but you do, as a female, I feel like there's a little bit of a constant worry that the partner is going to try to date you. Is this the next question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the next question, but
Okay.
it's a within this, because I have a couple more, but within this, it is the issue that I have heard a ton about with emails from female listeners, but because of in episode 15, young Grayson ran into that same problem. She's in college. She wants to go climbing. There's not a lot of girls to climb with. She's climbing with dudes, and every time she does, it feels like a date. Or the guy's thinking, okay, is this a date? So I think, and I hear a lot about that. So within that that's a real phenomena, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it goes both ways. It's like if you call a guy or contact a guy at the crag river, like, yeah, you want to go climbing tomorrow? You're thinking you want to go climbing tomorrow, and maybe guys do tend to be a little bit more black or white, and they're either like, yeah, I'm going to get lucky, or they're like worried, like, oh my God, she's so hot for me. And you just want like a belay on your proj.
Sure.
Ultimately.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's interesting because it's like I was getting at with this dynamic within climbing. Like, it's such this intimate thing that you can share. Like, even just going and doing, a few pitch route or whatever. I think that it can be conflated in people's minds. Like, wow, we had a really great time today, and it was exciting and thrilling, and it felt dangerous, and we spent it together. So even if it didn't start that way, I think maybe that it ends up like people being a little bit confused about what went down.
The situation, I think, too, like you and I, again, started mostly with like trad climbing, multi-pitch climbing and stuff like that. And you have this experience and you're like, wow. And yeah, I probably fell in love with every climbing partner I had when I first started climbing because I was like, this is so special. And we just did something so rad together. So it was really easy to be like, all starry-eyed and conflate the situation into maybe more than what it is.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is it's a commonality that I hear about all the time. A complaint from women is that they can't be that lone she-wolf. They can't really, it's kind of a landmine area of how do I make it clear to this dude that I just want to go climbing like his bros just want to go climbing. When Grayson had talked about being actually literally still tied in when the guy sort of made his move, some people emailed me and said, that's unbelievable. That never happens. And that couldn't have happened to her. And then other women emailed me and said, oh, God, that's happened to me. That total thing has happened to me. And Hathaway's had it happen to her.
The lean in is fact. The lean in is established fact. I'm sure it's happened to
Yeah, I've had the
lean in,
gear cleared
for sure.
off my harness type thing.
Oh God, that's
You
another
know?
thing is like
Grabbing stuff off your harness.
I want to
Yeah.
hear what this
Yeah,
one
it's
is.
just like the lean in, like grabbing
Reach
things.
around.
I'm grabbing my cams type thing. Like the guy just grabs around you,
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
and you're like, ooh.
That's
or
a
like
move
you
I've
got
not
your-
heard of.
Yeah,
Are you-
it's
no,
the next step after the
Chris,
lean
it's
in
called the
of
reach around.
It's the reach
Can
around.
I also say one thing that is actually a really, really genuine peeve that relates to that is the ordering the gear on my harness in your manner, like when it's my lead, and like doing like it in a sexual manner. That's actually really, really bad. You know what I'm talking about? When like a dude puts like when a dude like puts when a dude puts the gear on your harness.
Look on my face.
No, when a dude like they're like, oh yeah, like you're gonna need this and this and this, and they like put it on your harness for you, and you're just like,
They're like holding your hip and clipping your gear on for you.
yeah, it's
like, dude,
really not
A,
okay.
I like my
It
gates
happens-
out,
yeah.
and B, I can rack myself.
No,
Yeah.
what I got.
Why does
I
this
got-
happen? What is
What I got confused about was when you said in a sexual manner. Like, I can see, like, throwing it on there and, like, just doing it in the order that I
like,
would.
like when they lick the .75 and put it on your harness. I hate that.
Okay. All right, I'm going to take that out of my repertoire. Do not lick the cams as you put them on the harness.
No.
All right, so I think probably what irks you about this, other than this weird sexual way, like tugging on them or something, like poking you with them, I don't know.
I think it's the way they grab you.
I think it goes back to this idea that he knows better, right?
Yeah,
he
for
knows
sure.
this is the way you need
Yeah.
to do it, little
Yeah.
lady. Kind
Yeah.
of.
For sure.
Because there is something to be said about, your knots really, really tight and you're struggling to undo it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you just really failed and you didn't sand and you're bummed. And the guy's trying to undo your 8 for you and he's like, helpful. There's no like flirtatious thing.
Okay.
Oh, are you
that can be
talking
hot.
about,
That
like,
can be really nice. That's
like
so that's
when they
the thing, it's
untie your
just-
knot for you?
Yeah, 'cause
oh, I
it's-
actually don't like that.
All right.
Yeah, but don't say it because then the nice ones won't do it.
Situational.
Yeah.
Situational for
And you can feel it too, if it's ulterior motives.
But yeah, let's just dispel any myths that the lean-in does in fact exist. And if your
You've had
emailers
it-
are guys that are saying,
I
"Oh,
lean
I
in
would
with
never do
Lisa all the
that,"
time.
and you're getting emails from the ladies that are like, "Oh yeah, I've been leaned in on."
Right.
I mean, I had a friend who was staying here, and here's a little story for the guys, and this kind of encapsulates a lot of these myths, but she was, young, in college, cute, climbed hard, was, en route to get her PhD, and all these guys, of course, were like, yeah. And
That does sound sexy.
he's like, hey, you want to climb Castleton? And she's like, sure. And she's like, then on the second pitch, he like leaned in and tried to kiss me. And then she goes climb with another guy, and she's like, and then on the third pitch, it's like, oh my God. And these guys are all my friends,
Right.
and then they're like sitting around one night and they're like all speculating why, they got shut down. And of course they came to the conclusion, well, she must not like guys. She must be into girls because that's why
Sure,
we got
of course.
shut down.
Yeah, I mean, that's
That's
the
the
only
next-
reason
And-
any guy ever gets shut
And
down.
I'm like,
yeah.
okay, you guys live out of trucks that don't run and you eat out of dumpsters. And she's en route to get her PhD and climbs harder than you. What exactly do you bring to the table?
Mine is the PhD, and if you switch the Castleton with the Naked Edge in Boulder, Colorado, I had the same thing happen to me 2 weeks in a row.
All right.
So yeah,
classic.
Upshot, the lean-in does exist.
Okay, so let me
It's the silent partner of every male climber.
ask you this. Okay, so as climbers, right? We meet climbing. Okay, we're climbing around each other all the time. So now, if you are in fact attracted to this person, okay, and all you that's your middle ground. That's what you know each other through. Okay, so I think to myself, if I'm a guy that's attracted to this other climber girl, like, well, what's a nice thing to do? Let's go climbing together. Like, can you guys maybe advice for both people in the situation? Because I think it's not really that surprising that it happens a lot, is what I'm getting at. Like, these are the ways in which we relate to each other. So one thing I've actually noticed, a lot of the girls that complain about this, like, they don't always exactly make it all that clear either. How is it that the approach should be made, and vice versa. The agreement should be made to go climbing and make it all clear.
But it's not fair because climbing is a partnership, and that's what it is it's a climbing partnership before anything else. And so when you put trust into somebody and then they all of a sudden kind of cross a little bit of a line, then it's awkward and it's uncomfortable. And yeah, you don't want to climb with that person again. And it's a bummer because maybe you climb really well together, but because there's this sort of like they took it another way or they wanted something else, it's unfortunate. I've heard a lot of girls say that this is a problem. So yeah, that's where the line gets crossed, is when you assume that, that you're going to climb something together and that a girl is going to put her trust into you. And that respect means that she wants to date you or hook up with you. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's almost offensive at times because what are you going to do?
It's certainly offensive, like, especially if there's some sort of implied physical contact, like, there's no doubt that that's offensive.
Yeah. It's
especially
a weird,
like in a situation where there's, you can't move away or anything.
And it's a weird situation too, because you put your trust in somebody and you allow that there's going to be that sort of relationship and that kind of closeness, and whatever your motives are for an end result, it should be separate from whether or not anything exciting is going to happen at the end of the day.
So could I say this, that like going back to what I just said a minute ago, if you are a guy, like maybe if you want to make it clear, you just ask them out on a normal date?
I think that would be much better.
Right. Like say, why don't we go out to dinner? And then she'll instantly know like this is a full on date. And they can then be like, well, no, I'm seeing this other guy, or no, I'm not, or whatever. But don't use climbing as this proxy for a date.
I actually had a friend that was a climber friend, and he did just that, and I really respected it. It was like we climbed together for a while, and then he was like, I want to go like on a date. And I was like, oh, okay. And, so I had a lot of respect. It didn't end up being somebody that I wanted to date, but I respected that approach.
The boundaries that you have right from the beginning, because not to give responsibility to the women, because there's definitely some guys that are going to go there, even if your boundaries were pretty strict. But that said, if you're treating it like very seriously from the beginning, it's like we're going climbing, and you state your boundaries, like we're camping separate places, and like it's evident, then you might not be so uncomfortable saying like, dude, what are you doing? Like, don't rack up for me. And then if he's going to try it, then it's going to be awkward for him when you say, hey, what are you doing? I can give you those pieces. You don't need to reach around my body.
Right. Well,
and so that's the thing.
Let me just say this. Like, first of all, this whole lean in thing, like it astounded me the first time I heard about it, and it still astounds me. And maybe I'm just like not bold enough to try anything like that, but the idea of that, like, it makes me so uncomfortable just sitting here
sitting with us looking at you going, as he leaned in.
Have I done it? I swear to God, I have not done a lean in. I swear to you guys. But backing up, like not blaming the other side, there is a point at which I think there's, like I said, we get into a little bit of unforgivable naivete in terms of like, this guy, like now all of a sudden we're going to go on this 10-day trip together. Like, there's a point at which somebody in the relationship, whoever's maybe starting to feel uncomfortable, has to say something. And if it's the girl, like, if you're planning up like, oh, we're going to do this road trip and we have so much fun climbing together, like, somewhere in you has to start to know that, okay, this guy's starting to think something that's going on here that's not going on here. And I know for a fact with friends, they've let it go, whether they were uncomfortable saying something, which is forgivable, or they were just kind of like really wanted to go on this trip together because it was going to be awesome and they really wanted to go climbing that place. I know girls that have let it go further than they honestly knew they should have. Mm-hmm. And then it exploded when all of a sudden there was one tent and no one nowhere to sleep and everybody was in the tent together. So it's a little bit of both ways, but that still does not forgive the lean in. The lean in is ridiculous.
If you're going to, save the moves for after the climbing and then, let the chips fall where they
treat
may.
It like a job type thing, It's, you're not going to, act at work, but you could ask for a date after work,
Exactly,
So
treat it like a workplace, like you would the water
climbing is a
cooler.
workplace.
Yeah,
I
so
think
there's
that
time
is
for
really
it.
intelligent, actually.
I think so too. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you wouldn't slap a girl's ass at the water cooler, so don't do it at the crag.
Okay.
And don't take off your shirt.
Wait. When do you slap their ass?
When you're out at the bar together on a date where
When you're drinking.
When it's clear that
clearly
the ass
a
wants
date.
to be slapped.
I would like to ask Lisa that question again. When do you slap the ass?
Well, actually, you'll laugh, but I had this situation with one of my climbing partner, former SOs, and he had this habit when we go bouldering.
Good game.
He'd hit my butt every time. Like I'd be all chalked up, and I hit my butt, and I'm finally I take your climbing a little more seriously than that. So I'd like it if you would take mine.
Alex
Wait, what?
Can I just say that I smacked Alex Honnold's ass today?
In his bike
First
shorts.
time ever.
Apropos of nothing, she smacked Alex Honnold's ass today.
He was wearing bike shorts.
If Alex Honnold subsequently asks you to go climbing with him, just be aware that you slapped his ass.
Yeah, that was double standard. You shouldn't have slapped his ass while you guys
Alex
were climbing.
Honnold has a girlfriend, and she's lovely.
Okay.
Alex kind of needed an ass slapping today. That's
He
has
needed
nothing
a
to
bit
do
of
with
an ass
dating.
slapping.
He just needed a little tap.
Yeah.
Wait, I have to go back to your story. Why was he touching you? Why was he slapping your ass?
It just was
Afterwards?
no,
good
right
job?
before. I'd be all chalked up and ready to go, and boom.
Huh.
Like
Why?
good game type
I
thing.
don't know. It was just this little thing. It was
Did he
kind of
slap his
cute in
nail
a
partners
way.
in the crotch before he...
No. But it was a little distracting when you're if you treat climbing like the workplace, you'd be like, whoa.
Right,
Move it right
there's
along.
no segue to this, but Jamie Lee Curtis has slapped my ass and left a chalk handprint on it.
Shut the fuck up.
That's a true story.
Where was this?
In Recreation in L.A., baby.
I knew it.
Yep.
She climbs?
She did for a short period. She was into it. And that was her favorite thing. I was not the only one to receive this handprint on my
handprint.
ass. Yeah, she chalk up and slap your ass with her hand to leave a big print and laugh about it. Anyway, so what were we talking about? Oh, yeah.
Boys.
Boys and climbing together. Okay, so we got to wrap this thing up. We've been cranked. Before we get to the end here, I want to go back to a couple more. Just quick ones. Okay. Jeans, like some sort of technical climbing pant.
No.
No.
Capris.
No capris. No capris.
No skinny jeans
No skinny jeans.
on men.
Although,
No leggings. I don't care if you're doing the Jane Fonda. No leggings.
doesn't
What is a
matter.
legging on a guy?
I saw
Stretchy
four men
pants.
wearing spandex yesterday because they were psyched on doing the Jane Fonda, and I don't think anybody said.
And let's just
so
let's
tights
let's get this is really
leggings,
important.
tights.
If you're gonna wear tights,
Yeah.
then you have to wear underwear because pee stains on the front of your pants are not hot. And that is fact. Because I don't care how many times you shake it, there's always one more drop.
Can we just let's just say that khakis are maybe a little bit better.
Okay. So
I like jeans.
Yeah,
Jeans are
all
okay
right.
if they're
All right.
jeans and khakis.
But if you're bouldering, don't wear some big old nasty leather belt that you could break someone's hands with.
Okay.
But honestly, I think it's what you're most comfortable in and you're going to be normal in. I think that's probably what's best.
All right. So the fashion thing doesn't matter as long as you're humble, supportive, comfortable, confident, pretty good climber.
You have to
Doesn't matter what you're wearing on
Being a
your
good guy
ass.
is the most important thing.
Okay, be a good guy. All right, so let's spend a little bit of time on the relationship. Now, this could really be a whole nother topic and a whole
Why are you
nother
looking
show.
at me for?
I'm just making eye contact with all sorts of people.
It's cool.
So, the perfect man, like I just said, I'm working on this. Is, again, he's safe, he's humble, he's supportive, he, for Lisa, has a job that has a retirement plan. So the dirtbags are out for you. But
I've had so
you've
many.
been there.
Unless
You've
they're
been there.
independently wealthy. That's not a problem.
Okay, not a problem. But so what do you expect from a guy? You're in a climbing relationship. where does that go? Because I'll preface this with I always make the joke that when someone's talking about, let's say, Indian Creek or somewhere like that, I always say, yeah, I've seen many a relationship torn asunder, on that route. Like someone's like, they should try that route. I'm like, no. That's a bad call. Like, we've all been uncomfortably close to the climbing relationship that is going on one route over from us, and it's not going well. So what do you guys see as like, you mentioned it earlier, the supportive thing, but tell me about climbing relationships. What's the perfect man? Come on, help me out.
I think like it's really important. It's kind of terrible for both men and women because you have to preserve your partner's ego to a certain degree, and then you also have to keep them alive and from getting injured. So you don't want them to be on something that they could get hurt on, or also even if they can't get hurt, if it's just going to be way too above their ability and they're going to get frustrated and feel terrible about it, you don't want them on that. But you also can't say, no, I don't think you should be on that climb, or let's have you try something easier, because that's a terrible, terrible thing to do to anybody's ego. I think it's sort of individually for each person that it's a personal thing that you shouldn't push onto a partner. It's something that you should learn to do yourself and kind of check yourself. Like, stay within your boundaries, and if you want to be ambitious, just recognize that you're being ambitious and accept another person saying that, okay, that's a little big, but okay.
Right. The tone in your voice is very familiar, actually. They're like, oh, yeah, maybe that'd be a good idea. Hopefully everything will go okay on something like that.
See, I don't really know. I think, like, if I make the example of Lisa, when she talks to me when I'm trying to do some climb, it's supportive and realistic at the same time. I don't see why it could be any different with a partner. If you're having the same kind of respect that you have for your friends, or like regard, if they know what they're doing, like obviously you're going to take the advice. Mm-hmm. But now if you're putting insecurity in that, because I know I've been kind of guilty of doing that, trying to impress your mate, like you're saying, sure. Then that's a little bit like you have ulterior motives, so that's where the insecurity comes, because then if you're making this sound about trying to do good in front of them, but I know that's why I climb so well with friends, because then it's not really like, oh, I'm going to do good, Lisa will be proud of me. You know what I mean?
But I would be.
Yeah, you would be, but you're not like trying to save me. You're not trying to make, like, it's not your scent, like there's this thing that happens in relationships.
I think I was thinking about like climbs that might be sort of dangerous or above like an ability where there might be some sort of consequences, and not just that, like where it's going to be the most epic like hang fest ever, and it's just...
Well, I think it's like with any partnership, whether it's business partnership or relationship, it needs to be that. It needs to be a partnership, and there's going to be give and take. And ideally, you and your partner are going to be supportive of one another and realize that, like, some days you might have to go climb a route on Castleton when you'd rather be at Indian Creek.
Sounds similar. Anything I know.
But then that's going to get reciprocated, and you do that willingly, and you do it supportively, and you don't treat your partner, especially if their ability is less than yours, dismissively just because they aren't climbing at the same ability you might be or whatnot, and that goes in both directions. And yeah, when it works out well, it's the best thing in the world. I've said that to you, Chris. The best thing you can do for your climbing is have a significant other who climbs, because you always have a partner. If you have a healthy relationship with your partner, both on and off the court, you have someone who's going to be supportive, that you trust, and you don't have to think twice about your belay or your spot or whatever. Like the other day, we go climbing, and you're up there climbing with your girlfriend, and I'm making 6 trips to my car with crash pads because I'm by myself with no spotter and no partner. And I'm like, oh, I wish that was me. I wish I was Mrs. Calouse right now.
No, you don't.
Mrs. Calouse is a very lucky lady.
Mrs. Calouse is a very lucky lady.
Who, my mom?
Mrs. You can't see my air quotes.
Oh, I see.
Calouse.
I see. The future possible. Oh, okay.
No, but I think also
I only know one Mrs. Calouse. That's Kathy.
I think it's important to really understand your partner's climbing ability and guide their ability in a logistical progression, and sort of know like what is a good step forward for them and steer them in that way. And don't, if they want to do something that's crazy and a little bit ambitious and maybe dangerous, that's always difficult, but I think you should keep them from doing that, obviously. And more so just to encourage somebody and to push them to try really hard and to push their own abilities and support them through that, and just know they're climbing well enough to set them up for success, as opposed to put them on a fucking sandbag that they're going to hate and want to kill you for.
So, as you're saying all these things, I was kind of curious, like, are you coming from both sides of the equation? I mean, have you been on both sides where you're the person being guided, or, you know, and on the progression and being maybe a little bit talked down from being too ambitious?
Yeah.
And have you been the other person?
Yeah, I've been on both. I've been on both
Okay.
sides. Yeah, and I think that the best thing is to just learn their climbing, and
Sure.
if there's something that they want ambitious, to help them do the like step-by-step progression.
And sometimes you have to step out of the way and let, like, you might not be the right partner
Yeah.
for the job, and you need to, like, you know,
Yeah,
not
like
take it personally.
Yeah, if
and
you want to do that, be like, okay, well, I can't do that for you. You should go.
With that guy that
you should go with Eric DeCaria.
You should go with
You should
Eric
go with that guy
DeCaria.
that you met at
Yeah.
the gym the other night that I've never met before, and go climb with him for 10 days instead.
Probably not a random dude at the gym is going to be the one.
You're going to where with who? Because you're what?
I'm just going to give advice to all ladies out there not to go on trips with random guys that they meet at the gym.
No. No matter how clear you make the setup.
Double check the tent or the trunk for both tents.
Right. So I want to backtrack to something that you said real quick, Adeline, is that this idea that why can't this relationship be, you know, just like climbing with Lisa when you're climbing with a significant other or climbing with one of your friends. And I think that's a really, like, a nice thought. But what I've noticed is that the truth is that when you're with your significant other, the whole point of that person being so intimate with you is that you can, like, let them see emotions that you wouldn't normally show to
Oh, I
other
show
friends.
emotions to Lisa all the time.
I guess let me say that from a guy's standpoint. Like, you know, there's definitely situations where I feel more comfortable showing frustration or making a decision to go down that if I was with another dude. And this is definitely a dude thing. Like, you know, we're alpha dogging it up, and we're like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, I'll say this, like, with a good partner of mine, Rob.
His man crush, his true love.
True bromance. You know, we climbed this thing in the Black Canyon called this thing called the Serpent, and
the Bermuda Triangle finally snuck its way into the Enormocast.
Have we talked about Rightful?
Oh yeah, we did.
Okay, good. So, but we were both climbing it, and both of us were getting more and more nervous and more uncomfortable with the climb, but we weren't going to say anything. And then finally, I don't know who finally broached, like, hey, let's go down because this is freaking us out. But when the other person did, whether it was Rob or whether it was me, then the opposite said, oh yeah, I've been thinking that for an hour. Like, we should have, yeah, totally, let's go down. And yet in our minds, we both agreed that we were, like, not going to be
I'm not going to bail if he's not going to bail.
I'm not going to bail if he's not going to bail. So, and I think in some situations with I've seen with relationships, like, you know, coming from the girl side of it, like, they can let themselves show emotions to their boyfriend that if they were out climbing with somebody else, they might not necessarily show. But all I'm saying is that it would be nice if it could be the same, but it just isn't for, I think, a bunch of different reasons, you know?
I think you're right, but I'm not sure if it's the same thing with the guys as with the girls. Because the guys, seems to me anyways, from your story, it's like there's a little bit of the, you know, there's the ego gets in the way there. Mm-hmm. But my experience, I actually feel bad that I'm scared if I'm climbing with a significant other,
Mm-hmm.
with another girl, I know she'll understand because she went through that before.
But what
So
about
it's
with
much
a
more
dude?
comfortable.
What about with a dude who's not your boyfriend?
I think that the level of knowing that person it'd be different from one place to the other. But I'm usually, if I'm scared, I'm scared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'll go down no matter what, or I'll say it no matter what.
I'll go down no matter what.
I'm gonna go down no matter what.
But I think fear is different than like outbursts, or like I think that whether you're a girl or a guy, your demeanor should be appropriate with your significant other as you would treat your friends. And if you wouldn't yell at your climbing friend, you shouldn't yell at your boyfriend for doing some similar thing or whatever. Like, I don't think it's fair to make them take a greater brunt.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's okay. Yeah, situations like fear, then if you feel like you're going to die, you should probably, regardless of who you're climbing with, you should be pretty open about that.
Yeah.
I guess I am thinking about sort of like the outbursts and again, going back to to like,
you might squeeze a tear out in front of your girlfriend, but not in front of Rob.
Yeah.
No, wait. Actually, I take that back.
The other way around.
You would squeeze a tear out in front of Rob, but maybe not me.
In front of my girlfriend or you, but in front of Rob, I'll cry openly. No, I guess I'm just.
So it's more of a release for a guy. We're turning it back to you again. It's like you feel like you can comfortably like be open and release your emotions around your girlfriend, whereas when you're with your bro friends, you feel like you have to be like the man.
All right. Well, yeah. I don't know if it's quite that cut and dry, but again, I'm sort of like thinking about more the outbursts, and that when you said outbursts, that actually got me there. Like, just again, like I've just watched it so many times, like just the full on make everyone else at the crag uncomfortable, like battle between a boyfriend and a girlfriend or husband and wife climbing, like what sport climbing or crack climbing or anything. Like it's just like, I don't think those people would ever display that with, someone who they weren't intimate with.
You can only hope the stress of climbing.
Although they are displaying it to everyone else at the cliff, but it's kind of that unit thing, that like little microcosm that they're in as a couple. And
if I don't make eye contact, nobody saw me.
Right.
Yeah. Can I just say, like, as somebody who has definitely thrown a wobbler or two in the past with their boyfriend belaying them, that it's not, in general, it's not good to throw a wobbler. And it's especially not good to blame your wobbler on your significant other.
Right.
And at the same time, it happens.
Right.
And
but I guess it wouldn't be out of the question, Lauren, for you and I to go climb and rifle.
no.
Okay, like if you were coming over to the Western Slope,
I think we've done it before.
Right. We know each
Yeah.
other well enough that you could call me up and say, "Hey, let's go climbing." I would probably expect you to not like lose your shit climbing with me the way
depends
you
on the
might
climb.
allow yourself to. Right. But you might allow yourself to do it with someone who is you're intimate with, that you're going to be able to kind of walk it back from there.
Yeah, but can I just say, like, also, it doesn't go, for me in my relationship, it doesn't go very well when I lose my shit on a climb there, and it doesn't go very well when he loses his shit, and I think he probably does it a lot less than I do, but it's like losing your temper like that because of something that's happening with you intimately on a climb, and then blaming it on your significant other or passing that on to your significant other is just unhealthy. It's not fair.
It's not fair.
To do to any climbing partner, especially your significant other, I think. And that is like an individual climber thing that they should just get over, women and men. And
yeah, it's okay to show emotion, but it's not okay to be a dick.
Yeah, I'm sorry if most of the women in the world hate me now after saying that, but I don't think it's okay.
Everyone knows that. It's just, I think in the moment it can be difficult.
I think the
it's
psychology of it is complicated.
honestly, like cry, that's cool. Like kick the wall, that's cool. But don't blame it on your boyfriend or your girlfriend.
Yeah. I got tension.
Yeah, you've heard also like men saying that they got short rope or slack now or just.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something about relationship that makes the psychology of it is pretty complicated. You want the other person to make it easier for you. You want the other person to save you somehow. And that's not just women with the men. The men do it too. It's like the women should support them. They should hold their ego or something like that. You know, there's this that happens a lot in a relationship, and you see it. And I think like you just have to catch yourself. And I know I do it with Lisa too. I mean, it's not just a like mate thing. It's like there's a trust level that you get to. You know that. You know, it's like, no, I'd never said that. And then Lisa's like, yep, you said it. And I'm like, no, you know? And it's the frustration. Like, I want her to make it better for me, even though at that moment. And it's not like I'm a bad person.
Right.
It's just you are so into it at that moment. You're so passionate about that right moment. You're not straight in your head. And
yeah, I
you have to understand that, you know?
I think it's also really important to realize that that's you and that's not anything to do with your belayer, and just take it away from them, whoever they are.
Unless she's giving you tall person beta. Like, that's super frustrating.
But Lisa doesn't do that because she knows
what you're
all
gonna
the
use.
short person beta.
She looks at you climb, and then she'll tell you, you're going to do it like that. And you're like, no. And then, yeah. Yep, that's going to go. Yeah, anyways.
All right, well, we are well beyond.
Well, you could talk about relationships.
I know. You can. We'll pick it up again. Another episode.
3 girls with red wine and relationship talk.
Bunch of wine, ladies. But we. So I already made my list of the perfect man. That's what this is all about.
You want us to confirm or refute?
No, it's good. We're gonna go back there. But really, I guess the takeaway from this relationship. I mean, it's not really all that revelatory, honestly. Like. But we do need to be told it over and over again, you know, this supportiveness, what you just said, Lauren, about not transferring that anger or that frustration onto the partner, whether it's blame or whether just like roping them into this little shitstorm that you're creating. All those things are obviously wrong, and we're adults. We understand that. I think, again, trying to maybe point out some stuff with climbing being a little bit different is that what you just said reminded me of that is that it's a very emotional thing. There's sometimes fear. There's like super heightened effort in a moment combined with fear, this crazy little mix that all of a sudden makes you start screaming and yelling things that you may not have wanted to scream and yell. Like, I think in a different way that we might find ourselves in these sort of uncontrolled situations where our emotions just sort of come out, whether guys, it's anger. I think generally it like transfers into anger, and I don't know what the emotion really is with girls when they're at that point.
It's anger.
It's the same thing. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting to talk about. Is all I'm getting at is because it is like a heightened experience, and some of these emotions maybe end up getting it heightened as well when you get fear and frustration sort of mixed together like that. So, is there anything else you guys would like to say to boys and girls trying to get along?
That was a trick question.
Just be yourself and don't be a douche.
Yeah, just mostly don't be a douche.
If you are a douche, don't be yourself.
Push your girlfriend to lead her own climbs, but don't push her too hard.
Ooh.
Yeah, don't be a douche.
Well, it's because she says, be yourself. Don't be a douche. Unless you're a douche, don't be yourself.
All right, I think we'll just leave it at that. Thanks for coming in, you guys. Thanks for sitting down for the Enormocast. I know we'll get a lot of emails about this.
Thanks for buying us a gallon of wine.
Yeah, the box of wine. The wonders again tonight.
Very good. Thank you.
We're just going to keep going into the night.
Let's just talk to these
things. The
things.
fucking box of wine runs out. All right, thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
Chris.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Woo! Let's go strip club.
Say it's your birthday. Bo-no-no-no-no-no. It's my birthday too. No, it's not.
one thing that puzzles me is the makeup of your audience seems to be predominantly young boys.
Well, it's a sexual thing, really. Aside from the identifying that the boys do with us, there's also like a reaction to the female to our music.
They're quite fearful.
Yeah.
That was my theory. They see us on stage with tight trousers. We've got, armadillos in our trousers. I mean, it's really quite frightening, the size.
Yeah.
And they run screaming